Hi guys, welcome to Thorough Newspaper Analysis, which is brought to you by LawSikho. So these are the articles that we will be discussing today. First, the disintegration of the criminal justice system, which basically has come into light after the Hathras rape case that is much into news these days. So how the criminal justice system is falling totally into the hands of executive and why the court should take the cognizance of this has been discussed in this article. And second, approaching the misinformation storm. Again, this is more about the fake news that is so easily propagating through the social media. Third, a wake up call for the republic. So here also this talks about the very topic wherein the good how the republic should act and what should be the responsibility of a republican state has been talked about. And fourthly, the absence of women. Now, as we know, we have been discussing that in various fields, be it the science or tech, and even in the legislature. In India, the women have been very less in the number, even in the employment ratio as well. So, the absence of women in this article, a very good comparison has been drawn with the example of Kenya, and that we'll discuss in detail. And fifthly, we have the news in flash, wherein we'll be discussing the crisp news points. Before that, let's have a look at the LawSikho courses that we have for you. So we have the Lord of the courses, which is the Judiciary Test Prep course, and the link to this course is there in the description box. So if you're also preparing for judicial services, you can definitely have a look at it. You can also download free study material over there and can use it for your own preparation. So let's see that what is the multiple choice question for the day. Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary is in first Tamil Nadu, second Kerala, third Karnataka, and fourth Assam. So if you know the answer to this question, do put it down in the comment section below. So this is the descriptive question for the day. Representation of women in the Indian Parliament is a step much needed in the current hour. Discuss. The answer must be written within a word limit of 250 to maximum 300 words. With this, let's start with the first discussion, which talks about the disintegration of criminal justice system. So in several cases of crimes, like as we know, the very recent encounter of the very famous goon or the Don, which we can call Vikas Dubey in UP, the state police demonstrated a willingness to condemn any without any trial. And in the similar case, recently also in the Hathras rape case, the body of the girl, the victim, had been cremated by the police official itself, and the proper procedure of handling the dead body was not really taken care of by the police officials. So here the power to condemn was sourced not from judicial order but executive. Now the entire gist of this article actually focuses as to how the criminal justice system, which actually always fell under the ambit of judicial system, is no more under the control of judiciary and is falling way too much in this on the side of executive, and the executive actions are very they are very in a way we can say very staunch in the first sense, and they are not being even challenged by the judiciary. Let's see that who decides what should be a crime. In United Kingdom, it established various theoretical bases for justifying what should be a crime, like harm or degree of seriousness, etc., but follows the criminal laws and crimes are whatever the state says it is. But in the case of India, majority government makes the laws and it defines as the crime, and also controls the investigative machinery selectively pursue the cases, which should be, we should definitely take care that whatever the legislations or whatever our acts or the procedural systems have, we should be following them, and it should not be the at the end of the executive or at the whims and fancies of the executive to decide as to what you call a crime. So now here a good connection between the government and the judiciary has been explained. Firstly, growing discontent between government and the judiciary in matters of criminal justice. Now here we know that the government that actually we are referring to as the executive in this article, there has been a tussle between the government and the judiciary when the matters come to criminal justice. For example, in UP, police have a pendency rate of 15% compared to courts that have pendency rate of above 90%. So in a way, we can say that police in its own functioning, maybe this can, some people can interpret it as that only 15% are pending, so the UP police the police system is very in a way efficient in their functioning. But just consider that if this is how they're handling the matters, like in the case of Vikas Dubey and in the Hathras rape case, then definitely they will have a very less pendency rate or even less than 15%, which is not at all a good and justified manner to behave in a civilized society. Then courts are becoming slower in their ability to conduct trials, and this increases the natural time gap between the incident and potential punishment. Just a very common example of the Nirbhaya rape case can be taken, wherein the incident took place in 2012, and the actual judgment, the actual result of those criminals being hanged to death has just happened recently in 2020. So this has taken approximately 8 years to come to a conclusion. So this actually increases the time gap between the actual incident and the potential punishment. And this also reduces the importance of courts and criminal justice system, because when we say that justice delayed is justice denied, so obviously what is the significance of having a court of law when justice is so much delayed at the end of that court? Secondly, the increasing discontent has strengthened executive power. So the pre-trial arrest and custody, punishment without condemnation, which is asset forfeiture, is also happening, and many times there is a discontent that is happening, and the executive power is actually being strengthened due to that. So the limitation of executive mindedness by the judiciary, as we know that even the judiciary is not taking very, in a way, positive steps to curb down this outreach of executive that is taking place these days. And definitely in such cases wherein the executive is moving out of its ambit, the judiciary should be the one to step in and to tell that what is the actual ambit and jurisdiction of the executive. So the result actually that is happening is we are shifting from criminal justice system to problem solving system, and we should do that. And if this scenario prevails, definitely we would not be able to do that. But we should definitely take in care that we are following all the rules, all the laws in the best of the interest of the people, and the various organs of the government are given equal powers, and none resides over the other as the supreme one. The second article talks about misinformation. So with the advancement of internet, social networks such as Facebook, WhatsApp and Twitter have starting playing roles of a news outlet. Now, as we know, we also often, in the rhetoric sense and in the very humorous sense, we say that the WhatsApp university, because we know that WhatsApp and other social media sites have catered way too much towards the spreading of fake news, especially in countries like India. And here there are no journalistic norms and bias, and there is a spread of fake news that is occurring very, very fastly. So what are the issues associated? Polarization, because obviously you can understand that any issue that comes up in the news, take a very, very simple example. If you take about the death or the so-called murder or the suicide of Sushant Singh Rajput, the Bollywood actor. So the manner in which the media has been presenting the news, there have been news posts regarding this thing. It already seems like Riya Chakraborty and the other people who are like, being questioned by the CBI and other stuff. So they are the ones who are actually behind this thing, and they are the ones who are the criminals. This is also known as the media trial, and here this has caused a huge problem. So it is a problem because fake news definitely is becoming a huge issue. So even like we were discussing in the Sushant Singh Rajput case, so the way they have projected this entire case, they've already put it into the minds of the people that these are the people to be blamed for this entire thing. So this is something that creates polarization in the minds of the viewers, that this is extremely right and something is extremely wrong. So this polarization is really, really very dangerous and should not be the case happening in a civilized society. And then enhancement of echo chamber. Now, by echo chamber, we means that it is a group situation where information, ideas, and beliefs are amplified or reinforced by transmission and repetition. Just a very simple thing. If you go into any mountainous areas and you shout loudly, so you can hear back your own echo. So in a way, this actually amplifies your own voice. This is something that happens in the case of fake news as well, wherein an echo chamber is created, as in once a fake news is regulated, it is so repetitively sent to different portals, it is transmitted so many times and repeated by people, that it actually creates a complete echo chamber, widening the scope of fake news. And this social media uses algorithm to ensure that the users spend more time, promote targeted investment, advertising, etc. So what are the steps that should be taken are: act on problems like misinformation, hate speech, and suppressing left and right wing views. Regulate the social media firms, just like WhatsApp has recently taken this step that it has tried to put down the number of on WhatsApp forwards, and as well as many times it also tries to regulate the WhatsApp groups, and many times many authorities become parts of such WhatsApp groups that have more than 500 members. And then ensure corporate responsibility and to ensure transparency so that such things do not just happen. So the next article is which talks about that crimes and the legal system in India. So recently, the state of legal system in India. Recently, the state has seen heinous crimes capable of shocking the collective conscience. Perpetrators are seen to represent majoritarian nationalist sentiment. So basically, this talks about more wherein in our country, India, a trend of criminalization towards or criminalized activities, increase of these activities towards the downtrodden people or the Dalits has been seen more often. Like very recently, a report had come through the from the side of the NCRB that it said that the crime rates against the SCs and the STs has increased approximately to 25 to 26%. So this is a very huge increase since last 1 year alone. So let's see that what are the different colors or what are the different kinds of violence that these people have to face in our country. Firstly, and the most obvious one, the caste-based violence. The upper caste brutality on Dalits is very common nowadays. Perpetrators believe that state machinery will come to their aid because of caste affiliations. Maybe, unfortunately, this has also been happening. And Dalits are at the bottom of the caste structure and also in poverty. Like just in the example of Hathras rape case as well, the girl, the victim who was raped and murdered in this case was a Dalit girl, and all the others, or the assaulters, or the rapers and the murderers, they all belonged to the upper caste. So in a way, maybe they were of this belief that even if they commit this crime, nobody would be really be up to question them firstly, and even if they would, the government, maybe because of their ideology or something, would actually come to their rescue and not to the rescue of the victim itself. And then Dalits are at the bottom of the caste structure and also in poverty. So religion-based violence, minorities are attacked for not following the majoritarian dictats. Just in the very famous cases of mob lynchings, wherein many a times this has happened that they were killed by they were lynched by the mobs who belonged to any kinds of extremist groups or the majoritarian religions, targeted for what they wear or their physical attributes. An example is lynching of Muhammad Akhlaq, which was a very recent case. Then ideology-based attack on those who don't subscribe or oppose to an ideology, suppressing the voice of the dissent through violence. So if maybe this can a very idea of LGBTQ can also come, because many times the supporters of this community of people, they also have to face a lot of brunt of the people who do not want other people to think in a different manner and want all of the people to subscribe to their own ideology, which definitely is not the case when we have freedom of speech and expression and we have our own rights of every other kinds. So what steps should be taken in this regard is, firstly, legal system must equip to meet the expectations of the law, because obviously in our constitution, everywhere the provisions are provided for avoiding any kind of exploitation, and equality is provided to every individual, and we should stick and we should actually make endeavors in this same direction. Secondly, investigate fairly, remain unbiased, and punish the guilty, whosoever the guilty is. Thirdly, prevent manipulation of records, which is a very common trend these days. Intentional failure to record statements of key witnesses or collect crucial evidence. Willful obstruction of witnesses incriminating the accused from appearing in court. Like it also happened in the case of the case that was also a rape case in UP itself, wherein a BJP MLA, or he was there, a politician, he was associated. I'm really sorry, I cannot recall the exact name of that man, but the girl and the lawyer of that girl was also, the lawyer of that girl was killed in an accident. The girl was also attacked several times. Her family was also attacked. So these things also are happening these days. So the future of Indian legal system depends highly on the courts as well. Then lastly, we have the women representation in parliament. So recently, the Chief Justice of Kenya, David K. Maranga, recommended the dissolution of the parliament due to its non-compliance to the 2/3 gender rule. So basically, let's know that what is the 2/3 gender rule. So the Article 227 Clause 8 of Kenya's new constitution, which was added in 2010, prescribes that it requires the state to take legislative and other measures to implement the principle that not more than two-thirds of the members of the elected bodies shall not be of the same gender. That means that women will be provided reservation at least of one-third of the members in these bodies. And then to enact the same since 2012, the courts gave different timelines, but the parliament over there was totally unresponsive and unmoved. And for more than 9 years, the parliament did not enact the law. And as a consequence of it, now the Chief Justice of Kenya has recommended that this current parliament will be dissolved. And one thing that should be noted is that many took this stance that in the times of COVID-19, it would be really difficult to function if the parliament would be dissolved, and they actually requested the Chief Justice not to take this decision. But the Chief Justice of Kenya said that no matter what the situation is, the constitution must be complied to. Be it a situation of crisis or anything, there can be no excuse to not complying to the constitution. And since it has been very long that the parliament was not taking any response of the timelines provided, so he has now recommended the dissolution of the Parliament of Kenya. So the current women representation in India as compared to Kenya is, Kenya has 22% women in the present National Assembly, whereas India has only 14.58%, which also is the highest ever that we have seen in Lok Sabha. So we are, if we compare Kenya to India in economy and every other stance, we are way better and way above Kenya. But if we talk about women representation, Kenya is much better than our Indian system. And then Kenyan Senate has 31% women, whereas Rajya Sabha in India has only 25 women out of total 242 elected members. So this also something we should understand, that there 31% of women, there are women, and here only 25 out of 242 elected members are there. And this is really crucial to understand that if we really want equality, not only in the terms of constitution, like in the theory, but also in the practical sense, it is important that stakeholders from all the communities are given equal representation in bodies as important as the parliament. And that is why women representation is really, really crucial when it comes to a country like India, wherein approximately 45 to 47% of the entire population is female. So let's see what we have for news in flash today. Nobel Prize for Physics. So Roger Penrose for providing the existence of black holes, along with Reinhold Genzel and Andrea Ghez for establishing the existence of massive black hole, have been given in the Milky Way, have been given the Nobel Prize for Physics. So these names should be remembered. And very recently, the Nobel Prize for Medicines were also awarded. So this is the second one. A proposed road tunnel beneath Western Ghats has been, given. So Kerala's Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan launched a tunnel project to connect Kozhikode, here is Kozhikode, with Wayanad to Wayanad. So the tunnel will be 7 kilometers long. This will be the third longest in India. As we know, the longest one has been recently inaugurated in Himachal Pradesh, Atal Tunnel, cutting through the sensitive forests and hills in the Western Ghats. So the most important thing that we need to understand is that what would be the impact of this tunnel that would be created on the ecology. So this proposed route passes through highly sensitive patch comprising of evergreen and semi-evergreen forests, marshlands, and shola tracts. So shola tracts is one thing, it is one of a kind of plantation which is very much endemic to this area of Nilgiri area, and a very famous bird, that is the Nilgiri pipit, is also endemic to shola region. So this region is a part of an elephant corridor between Wayanad and Nilgiri Hills in Tamil Nadu. So this was all for today. We hope it was an informative session for you all. Thank you so much for staying tuned with LawSikho.